the black community really pisses me off. Do you guys know right now Uncle Tom is trending on Twitter simply because the U.S. Surgeon General gave an in-depth analysis of how we can lower the disproportionate rates at which blacks are being affected by the coronavirus, and blacks took an issue with that? Man, I'm telling y'all, it's getting ridiculous, man. It's getting absolutely ridiculous. Let's get into it. Community is in outrage because the U.S. Surgeon General gave them a word of advice on how to lower the infection rate of COVID-19 around the black community, which, as many of you know, the blacks are reportedly being disproportionately affected and killed by COVID-19, and a lot are crying environmental racism, systemic racism, as the result of the high rate of infection and disproportionate rates of death amongst blacks in the black community. Well, the U.S. Surgeon General took it upon himself to actually give a more realistic explanation as to why blacks may be disproportionately affected and dying from COVID-19. And they didn't like what he had to say too much. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
We do not think people of color are biologically or genetically predisposed to get COVID-19. There is nothing inherently wrong with you, but they are socially predisposed to coronavirus exposure and to have a higher incidence of the very diseases that put you at risk for severe complications of coronavirus. We're taking steps now in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic to reach, protect, and strengthen all communities impacted by this disease, and especially our communities of color. And I want to close by saying that while your state and local health departments and those of us in public service are working day and night to help stop the spread of COVID-19 and to protect you regardless of your color, your creed, or your geography, I need you to know you are not helpless. And it's even more important that in communities of color, we adhere to the task force guidelines to slow the spread. Stay at home if possible. If you must go out, maintain 6 feet of distance between you and everyone else, and wear a mask if you're going to be within 6 feet of others. Wash your hands more often than you ever dreamed possible. Avoid alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. And call your friends and family. Check in on your mother. She wants to hear from you right now. And speaking of mothers, we need you to do this, if not for yourself, then for your abuela. Do it for your granddaddy. Do it for your big mama. Do it for your pop-pop. We need you to understand, especially in communities of color, we need you to step up and help stop the spread so that we can protect those who are most vulnerable.
Let's think about this for a second. The U.S. Surgeon General. The U.S. Surgeon General is the nation's doctor, providing Americans with the best scientific information available on how to improve their health and reduce risk of illness and injury. The Surgeon General oversees the U.S. Public Health Service, commissioned corps, an elite group of over 6,000 uniformed officers who are public health professionals. The USPHS mission is to protect, promote, and advance the health of our nation. And because he's a black guy and he's doing his job backed by data, medical research, scientific evidence, empirical studies, he is called an Uncle Tom for simply stating how we can improve our quality of life in dealing with COVID-19 and lower the infection rate. I gotta tell you, man, the black community sometimes makes my balls itch. You know, the logo of Twitter is a bird. Well, there's a lot of bird brains on there. I call them Twidiots. Twidiots, ladies and gentlemen. Uncle Tom trended #1 on Twitter because a black man gave real medical advice backed by scientific research on how we can improve the quality of life, reduce the infection rate and the death rate of the black community with COVID-19 because we're disproportionately being affected and falling to the virus. I go out every day. There's about 20 guys who are out there in spite of the stay-at-home order. I was driving my car the other night. I went to run to the store to get some essentials from the 7-Eleven. There were about 15 black people playing in the street at 1 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the street. I've seen parties, gatherings on street corners everywhere that I've been in black neighborhoods. Despite the fact that there's a stay-at-home order and that social distancing is necessary in order to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On the Revolt TV panel with Diddy and Van Jones, they said that blacks were being disproportionately affected and it was due to environmental racism, and other nonsense. When I said, let's have a more objective assessment of what might actually be going on. Maybe blacks are being disproportionately affected because blacks aren't following the social distancing rules. Blacks aren't staying at home. The inner cities are full of black people. Coincidentally, the highest rates of COVID-19 contractions are in inner cities. The black community is not taking it serious. They aren't practicing social distancing. They're still gathering. They're still grouping. They're still throwing parties. They're still having fun. And we want to blame the disproportionate infection rate on the system rather than black people simply not listening and staying at home. So I don't believe he did anything wrong. He's speaking the truth. He's speaking facts. You have to be out of your mind to believe environmental systemic racism is causing the disproportionate contraction of COVID-19 in the black community when blacks could simply stay in the house and stay at home and practice social distancing. We might see a reduction if they actually tried that. But no, they want to call the Surgeon General Uncle Tom and continue to go out and have fun and party as we continue to get infected at a higher rate than everyone else and blame the system for the infection rate. Let's take a look at the credentials and the qualifications the Surgeon General has and why we should listen to what he's saying. Because he's not an Uncle Tom. He's particularly knowledgeable in his field. And I've said once before, a lot of black people don't seem to know what the STEM field is. They just don't seem to know. So let's look at the Surgeon General's credentials. Surgeon General Jerome M. Adams, MD, MPH. Dr. Jerome Adams is the 20th Surgeon General of the United States. His mission as the nation's doctor is to advance the health of the American people. Dr. Adams' motto as Surgeon General is better health throughout better partnerships. He is committed to strengthening relationships with all members of the health community and forging new partnerships with members from the business, faith, education, and public safety and national security communities. As Surgeon General, Dr. Adams holds the rank of Vice Admiral in the U.S. Public Health Service Commissioned Corps. In this capacity, he oversees the operations of approximately 6,500 uniformed health officers who serve in nearly 800 locations around the world, promoting, protecting, and advancing the health and safety of our nation. Dr. Adams received a bachelor's degree in both biochemistry and psychology from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, a master of public health degree from the University of California at Berkeley, and a medical degree from Indiana University School of Medicine. This guy has 4 degrees. All 4 are within the STEM field. He knows what he's talking about. He's been a leader in numerous professional organizations, including the American Medical Association, the Indiana State Medical Association, and the Indiana Society of Anesthesiologists. Dr. Adams is also former health commissioner of Indiana, where he led the state's response to Ebola, Zika, and the largest ever HIV outbreak in the United States related to the injection drug. Dr. Adams has pledged to lead with science and facilitate locally led solutions to the nation's most difficult health problems. Lead with science. That mentality goes a long way. That's what my perspective is predicated on. Science, data, research. Now I understand some people don't want to fully put their trust in scientists. But they are the best we have at understanding the world. Because they dedicate years of study to understanding the world's phenomena. Why do people think scientists don't know what they're talking about? Who are you, some random individual walking down the street with no degree in any STEM field, to invalidate scientific claims, scientific evidence, scientific research? with no scientific background or prior knowledge in science yourself. Dr. Adams trying to tell us how we can cut down on the infection rate. And all we can do is, man, he Uncle Tom, man. We ain't listening to Uncle Tom, man. He trying to kill it. Hey, bro. Hey, Uncle Tom, man, telling us to cut down on weed, smoke and drink. What? Man, man, don't drink no 40. Don't roll no blunt, man. What you talking about? Practice social distance. What is that, man? Trying to hang out with my niggas. You feel me? Bro, you feel me? Hey, bro, you feel me, bro? Trying to hang out with my niggas, man. What you talking about? Social distance. What social distance, man? I'm trying to see my niggas, man. I'm trying to hang out with my niggas, man. We trying to go to the club, get drunk, man. You feel me? Throw some ones at these strippers, man. And listen, we ain't about to do no social distance, man. Uncle Tom, man, nigga, man. What are we gonna say now? What? Scientific racism. Science is racist. A large majority of our community doesn't understand what a multivariate analysis is. We don't understand the significance that variables may have in contributing to a phenomenon. We just clearly don't understand it. This guy has given advice from an objective, scientific perspective of how we can reduce the disproportionate infection rate of COVID-19 within the Black community. And he gets called an Uncle Tom for it. The guy knows what he's talking about. He's been there. He's done this. He's an expert. And we call him an Uncle Tom for sharing that expertise with us, trying to aid us, trying to better us, trying to help our community. He's trying to help our community, and he's called an Uncle Tom for trying to help our community with the facts, with reality. Not following the political biases of leftists, liberals, with racism this, racism that, just throwing around racism, believing that there's racism in the water, in the lights, in the walls, in the clouds, in the sky, the way leftists do. Science. The Black community has to learn to have more respect for science. They respect science when they're on Twitter. That's science. They respect science when they're on iPhones. That's science. They respect science on 2K, PS4s. They respect science on Apple downloads. They respect science on Instagram. They respect science in the cars they drive. They respect science in the shoes they wear, the clothes they wear. That's all science. And someone is trying to help us, tell us, show us how we can lower the COVID-19 infection rate within our community. And he's called an Uncle Tom. This is tremendously sad. The liberals, the leftists, this is their doing. Now, I'm not big on politics, but as a guy who has a degree in psychology as well, I completely understand how objective assessments, following the scientific method, empirical studies, statistics, variables, multivariate analysis, can come to conclusions that some of us just don't want to come to terms with. Because at the end of the day, we all have some accountability in the phenomena that we face. And by us all having accountability, that means we have some degree of control that we need to exercise. So I don't think he's an Uncle Tom. I think he did exactly what he was supposed to. And if that makes him Uncle Tom, oh well, then he'll just have to be Uncle Tom. And if this makes me an Uncle Tom, I never care. I don't care. I keep it real. And I'm going to always keep it real. Because that's how we're going to reduce the disproportionate infection rates within the Black community, by following his guidelines.